Welcome to Threatsafe. This is our podcast to help SMEs and SMBs and the people who manage IT within those businesses or responsible for IT to get the very best from the technology that they deploy and then also to manage their cyber security. Let's listen to this week's podcast. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Roberts, Managing Director of NewWays, and
I'm Toby Stevenson, Chief Technology Officer at NewWays.
We're showing our faces for the first time you can still go to audio, folks, and just listen if the experience so far has not been a pleasant one.
Yeah. Close your eyes, turn the screen off,
Absolutely.
Anything like that.
Okay. So we're actually changing the name of our podcast. It has been, as you know, Cybersafe, and thank you very much for listening to that. We concluded that series only last week. We're now calling it Threatsafe, and there's a very important reason for that, and it's to do with the scope of what we can talk about. Because Toby, it's been very cyber security focused.
It has.
And the threats to a business are actually much greater than just bad actors. There are things that businesses do or ways that technology changes which introduces threats to a business which have to be addressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we've got a wealth of experience in some of those areas. So it's a forum to share that.
Yes.
And not be just talking about cyber, but actually just talking about all of the things that threaten a business.
Yeah. So today I'd like to start actually with old kit, old servers. And let's describe a scenario that happens here. Is a business at some point says, I want to use this type of business system. They invest in new servers and new infrastructure for that business system, and they get to use it. They get a 3-year warranty with that server, and then we get to beginning to age. The company still requires that business system. It's embedded in the business. They can't see the time or the space to move to a new system, which may be more appropriate, whatever, because of the cost or because of the time, and they're suddenly got a equipment servers which are 3 years old. We begin to see threats emerge.
Yeah, certainly risks that can manifest into problems. Yeah, so servers get older. I think the key thing here is that things don't last forever, and whether that be the hardware, they have the manufacturers almost build in obsolescence into them, that they expect you to have them for a period of time, and then after that period of time they make it increasingly difficult to continue using it, to the point where you then run huge risks running the hardware. Software is similar.
Yeah.
The software will typically have a lifespan. Unless you buy it on day one that it releases, you're already part way through that lifespan. So it's not from how long you've had it for, it's how long the manufacturer has had it released for. So on top of things like the different cybersecurity threats that we've spoken about previously with vulnerabilities and things that need patching, other risks are that it's just no longer fit for purpose, as you say, or it can't do the latest and greatest thing, and you need to buy more things to fill that gap and stitch them together and have the risks and that introduces. It's something that often gets overlooked, and I think that a lot of businesses kind of say, well, it's working fine, so we'll just leave it. It sits in the corner, like a microwave or a hi-fi system. But these are not appliances. These are things that are almost living and breathing things, and they do need to be kept up to date and periodically replaced, probably more frequently than you may consider would be appropriate.
Now, in the normal life cycle of these things, typically what we see is that people invest in the server. The thing with servers is they go wrong in the first few weeks, and then they get fixed and they settle down. And then 3 years, they work perfectly well on the whole. Everybody got all the right backup systems and other things around that. And then we get to 3 years, and the first thing is the warranty is going to expire. You have the opportunity to buy an extended warranty from the manufacturer typically, and that'll give it an extra life.
Yeah.
Typically for the 2 years or a year at a time.
Different vendors have different aging, and I say it's from when the model releases. So if you buy it on day one, and the manufacturer says, we're going to cover this model for 7 years, you've got 7 years. If you buy it when it's a 2-year-old model, you'll only have 5 years before the manufacturer says it's no longer supported. So that's the tricky thing, and it's why sometimes these end of line sales are not always as good value as they appear to be.
And the actual impact of that is if you get to the end of you're in a warranty, an extended warranty, and it's no longer a supported product, there's no guarantee that the parts will be available. So if things go wrong and they need to get new parts, the idea that you have a warranty which will have a replacement part guarantee there, they may find the part, and I've seen companies buy stuff on eBay because it's the only way they could source the equipment. But it's meant that the business has been out of business for several days while that's being fixed.
Yeah, I mean things like things with moving parts are the things that typically fail most frequently in a server. So hard disks, power supplies, fans, and possibly things that fans are cooling, because if the fan breaks, then the other component may have a problem. And those parts are normally relatively easy to get hold of. It's when it's the more exotic internal components, a motherboard fails on a 6-year-old server, it really is really difficult to be sure that you're going to be able to find a part for that if it's not a warranty.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit irritating as a business owner who's invested quite a lot of money. We call it talking tens of thousands of pounds, to suddenly think that something I bought only 3 years ago is now obsolescent. I can buy an extended warranty. There's no guarantee about the service levels around that necessarily. Does it introduce a risk to the business? Yes, it does. And it's one of those silent risks that is sitting there, glowering in the corner, and may never affect you. And we've seen people run servers for 10 years. And it's never been a problem. We've also seen businesses who've got to year 5. They can no longer get a manufacturer warranty, so they have to go and buy a third-party warranty. And the level of guarantee about parts around that is entirely different. It's almost best endeavours, and get somebody out to replace that part. And we suddenly find businesses are sitting there saying, well, I've got this kit. I only bought it 5 years ago, which in consumer terms seems like yesterday. But they've got something which is completely useless. And so then we'll talk about what happens in certain situations is that, we have to replace the server, and we have to do it in a hurry. And then we get into a problem whereby the software that has been installed on that server 3 to 5 years ago will actually only run on that type of server, on that type of chip, or on that type of hardware. And we've often seen whereby we go out, we source a brand new server, or we can't source a brand new server because the software that the people run to use their business will actually not run on that at all.
Yeah, and it ends up being, if you're not careful, it ends up being a cascading effect, because the server, you have to replace it with a new one. The software that you've got, for a raft of reasons, I'm going to touch on those, won't work with the new server. So you have to buy new software. Then the application you've got doesn't run on the new software, so you have to upgrade the application. And suddenly, what has turned from being something that was relatively trivial to resolve has now suddenly turned into an entire re-engineering of the business system, because you have to upgrade all these other components to keep pace with all the new things that you're having to deploy. So that's the real danger if you sweat things till they literally fall apart.
Yeah. And I guess the truth be told is that you need to accept that when you're making that large investment, that in 3 years' time and in 5 years' time at the latest, you're going to have to do something. And it may well be that you work with the vendor of the software to make sure that you're on the latest version, that'll work on the latest hardware, and that accept you put that money in your budget and you start budgeting for it today, that in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, you'll replace and you'll upgrade both the hardware and the software. And as an alternative strategy, looking at other products which will suit your business. Now, the danger is this will turn into a sales pitch for cloud-based business systems, ERP. There are several out there, and they're very good. People sometimes don't feel ready to make that huge move, but it should be in your armory of options for when you're considering the end of life of the hardware for your business system. The business system is the beating heart of your organisation, and if it's not working, and we talked plenty of times on Cybersafe previously about it not being available to you because it's been hacked. There's been a problem with it, but actually this is one of the things that we know you can control. You can make decisions today to make sure that in 3 years' time you're not sitting there with some very expensive metal that won't actually run your business anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, have that plan. So what you install today, have a plan. Understand what the release schedule of new versions are. Try and keep on top of those things. It's why we've said in previous podcasts, keeping things under support and keeping those subscriptions active is really, really critical, because that's your gateway into getting the new software. That's what allows you to follow the manufacturer's upgrade path, and it will make, when it eventually happens, that reinstall much less painful, because you've not got to jump 2, 3, 4 versions of the operating system or the database or the application or something like that. So really, really important to factor that in, and it's often used as one of the arguments for not looking at cloud, because I have to pay every month for cloud. Well, it's the right mindset to get into, thinking that I might not be paying every, but I might be paying something every year to keep a maintenance contract in place for the software. But get into that mindset of continually fettling and upgrading and changing and tweaking and uplifting the software that you've got, just so that when you were forced to do it, it's not quite as big a leap, it's not quite as painful a leap as it would have been otherwise if you just stayed on the day one build of the system.
Yeah. So in conclusion, you need to budget today for purchases in 3 to 5 years' time. It's very painful, and it's not a pleasant thing to see. I've just spent 30, 40, 50,000 pounds on something, and now I've got to talk about spending 30, 40, 50,000 pounds in 3 years' time or 5 years' time. It hurts.
Yeah.
I know. But the reality is, start planning for it now, because it's a thing that you can manage, and you can manage that threat to your business. And the other thing I would say is that we'll do a further podcast or videocast, depends whether you like the look of us or not, regarding what should you be spending on IT. What percentage of your turnover should you be spending on IT?
Yeah.
And it's very, very important. Different businesses need to spend different percentages, different amounts. Depends what business they're in, what the competitors are, what the software is available, what technologies are available. But we have some guidelines, and it also depends on your attitude to risk and your attitude to investment in IT. Are you a me too? Are you a leading edge, laggard? We can talk about all that in a future episode.
I think the key takeaway is shift that mindset so that it's not a one and done. It's a continual investment in the system. You pay all this money to have it installed and train everybody and get it up and running, and that's not where it ends. There's still that continual investment to keep it up to date, make sure that you're getting everything ready for every possible eventuality that could come out, so that you may get new functionality, but it's about stabilising and keeping up to date ahead of all the risks on the tail of the latest trends, because the software from 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago won't be AI ready, or won't be ready for this or that or the other. You'll need to be on that train of advancement that the solution providers will be offering as part of that subscription, as part of that warranty period.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Toby. I think a great first episode for Threatsafe, as a continuation of our Cybersafe series. We hope it's been very useful. I think that expansion of what we're going to talk about will help you as a business owner, business manager, to get more from your IT and from the investments that you're making, and understand what the threats are that you can control today within your business. If you've enjoyed this, let us know. We'd like to hear more other subjects you might want to talk about. I've enjoyed this being on video, I think, until I watch it back.
Yes, it might be double cringe.
Yes, so there might be just an audio version of this coming out very soon. You'll only find out in the next short period. So if you're watching us and you have comments or would like to suggest any further topics to discuss, drop us a comment below and we'll be happy.
I feel like I'm on Strictly.
That's really good. Put the comment there and I'll read it when he points out what it is. Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to Threatsafe. We hope you found it enjoyable and informative. Please reach out with any comments, feedback, questions, and we look forward to seeing you soon.